All right, guys, let's talk about butt welding versus uh, lap welding, and what is the quote unquote right way to do it. And I've been watching some of the younger guys, the next gen, about around, I'd say mid 2000s. It seemed like butt welding became the next, savior to the car business and to the restoration stuff. And people started getting crazy about butt welding. They started saying, stuff like these things like between the two layers of metal. So let's say I lap this instead of butt welding it. Between these two layers of metal, there's air in there and rust can occur, and you're talking about, the time that it takes for that to happen basically is it's going to be past your lifetime. And as long as, especially when you seam seal it and you keep the air from getting in there, or air will cause rust very, 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 very slowly. Moisture will cause it a lot faster, and as long as you keep the moisture out, pretty much you're okay. But there's a lot of people that say, that you gotta butt weld it to do it right, because it's so basically, if you want to think about that, then, this original repair, where they not repair, but where they manufactured this roof, this was lapped on here, and water actually stands on there and can eventually go inside underneath the layers, or it can go from the other way. So basically that's a fail. You'd have to go through the whole car and actually look at every place where it was manufactured and realize that there's failures everywhere in every car, and those are factory failures. But your repair that you do has to last longer than the factory repair. This is just a farcity, in my opinion. And, it's misleading a lot of people in the industry that think, they know everything. I remember when I was in my 20s and 30s, I thought I knew everything. And now I'm in my 50s and I know that I don't know anything. And I think most of the guys watching my channel are older, and we can all comment about this. You can look at those comments. A lot of the guys, the younger guys think, they know everything about this, and they're smarter than us older guys that have been doing this stuff for 40 years and 35 years. And, they know the quote unquote right way to do it. Honestly, here's the right way. Here's the right way to do it. It is whatever gets the car done. Whatever gets the car done. So, worst scenario. Let's say you don't get the car done because you're trying to do everything butt welded, because you hear that butt welding is the right way to do it. And you don't get the car done quick enough. What happens? What's that? Your wife, she's going to do this. And what's going to happen to the car? It's going to be gone. It's going to go to another guy's house, or it's going to go to the junkyard. Worst scenario. It's going to go to the junkyard. That is what we don't want to happen to these old cars. So the right way to do it is to get the car done, period, regardless of how you do it. And that's what we're going to talk about, the difference between butt welding and lap welding. And there's both repairs are actually good ways to do it. So you have something called a flange butt. Well, you got a tool for that. Let's see if I can do it on this scrap metal here. This little stair step thing is for a flange, not for butt welding. It's for lap. If I said butt welding, I'm not sure. But then they have pliers like this. Now, I don't typically do this, because honestly, if I'm doing this, I'm gonna, if I'm gonna flange it, do that. Try to get it to straight, but there we go. It kind of gives you a little bit less, when you lap it, it kind of gives you a little bit less need for filler. you still end up with filler. You know, you still end up with everything you do with any way that you do it. And some guys will metal finish everything. And honestly, that's kind of a pissing match. When when you get to that point and you're doing pissing match stuff, I'm not interested myself. I've been there. When I was younger, I was in the pissing match. All right. I realized that, I'm going to outdo this guy. They're going to outdo this guy, and you're going to outdo this guy. And it's just an endless chain of time wasting. So, you spend years of your life realizing that all the stuff that you did, and then somebody buys the damn car from you. They disrespect it. They don't care. They don't care whether you did everything metal finished. The car moves on to a different life. And, they don't treat it the same way that you would have, so it's, you have to think about what you're doing this for. Are you doing it? What's your reasoning behind it? Do some self-psychology and figure out what the issue is and work on that. Doing it to be a pissing match is a joke. People go to Klamath sand dunes and a guy goes out, and it was fun when it was Volkswagens. You went out there, guy would run around in his VW and have a good time, and then all of a sudden some guy goes, well, I'm going to put a V8 in the car. Okay, and he puts a V8 in. Oh, I'm going to go turbo V8. I'm going to go turbo nitrous V8. And then, it just becomes a pissing match. And, what are you doing? How are you building the car? What are you building it for? How many lifetimes are you trying to build the car for? All this stuff that doesn't really matter when it comes down to, basically, are you going to get the car done or are you not going to get the car done? Those are the things that you need to weigh out. Is, do I have so much work to do by trying to butt weld everything that I'll never finish it? Or do I have, what is your reasoning for doing what you're doing? And you need to look into yourself and figure out what that reason is and work on that. Don't let the car be the loss, okay? You need to work on that for yourself, all right? And I've been there. I've already done all this stuff in my lifetime. And this is where I'm at now, is I want to finish stuff, okay? Everything I do, I finish. I did that years ago, and I did that the long way many years ago. And I realized that, if it's finished, who the hell cares how I did something? The rest is a pissing match. Do I really want to get involved in pissing matches? Hell no. I'll do it my way, and that's it. So hang on. Let's just talk about the difference between butt welding and lap welding and why guys go with a butt, not with a lap, or vice versa. Okay, lap welding, because you have 2 layers of metal, it's stronger. Okay, so especially back years ago when I worked in a body shop, I was a painter in a body shop, not a body man. But when I was a painter in a body shop, if a car was lap welded on a repair that you did, and we're talking about repairs like in the middle of a corner panel, not at a seam, it's different things. It's done in the middle of a quarter panel or the middle of somewhere. If it was lap welded, it was okayed by the insurance company. Would say that's a safe repair. You're okay to do that. If you butt welded that panel in, and they saw that you butt welded it, you would lose your insurance contract because it was not as safe. And let's talk about that. Why? Okay, when you weld right here, right next to where you weld, the metal is melting, okay, here and here. And that is just a little bit thinner. And then on top of that, especially some of the guys now, when you're using, let's say, 20 gauge or even thinner, to do the repairs on some of the older cars where you have 18 gauge, 16 gauge, butt weld, lap weld, hell, it's going to be fine either way, because your metal loss isn't not going to be that much, in percentages. So on these, right next to the weld, okay, you're talking about a little bit of metal loss there. And then on top of that, you're grinding that down, especially when you're trying to grind it down really tightly flush. and get rid of all the looks of the weld, okay? Can it be done? Yeah, it can be done. It can be aesthetically pleasing. It can look good. Is it strong? The answer is probably not, okay? It's probably going to be pretty weak in that area, and it could crack there. Or if you got in an accident in that area, it could be, pretty unsafe. So those things are factors you need to think about when you're doing repairs. Some places, it's okay to lap. Some places, it's okay to butt. It just depends on two things: aesthetics, okay, and also on your strength. So you need to think about every repair you do and think about what's the right thing to do in that area and what's going to work best for what you're trying to do. If you're trying to go for all aesthetics, then you butt everything in. And the most important thing, again, is make sure that you finish the car. If it's going to take you so long to get it done by butt welding it that you don't finish it because you're going to listen to this too much, guess what? Not a good idea. It might be smarter to just take the different route. That's why I always talk to people about budgeting and time budgeting and money budgeting. When you start your project, figure out what you want to do and be real about it. And if you start to realize that it's taking too long doing it the way you started, change it up a little bit. Figure out how to get the project done, period. Get it done. That's the most important thing. It goes to a wrecking yard, everybody loses. The car's gone. You lost your time. You lost whatever money you had into it, whatever. And the cars are gone. So that's what, saving cars is what it's all about. It's all about saving cars. If you can save cars, great. Save them. And that's the whole idea of all of this stuff. So is butt welding okay? Yes, butt welding's okay. Is lap welding okay? Yes, lap welding's okay. If I want to do a flange lap, that's fine. It just depends on what your skill level is and what your time factor is and what your abilities are. Butt welding isn't really that hard. It doesn't take that long to do. Well, like on this particular project right here, where I built this whole truck from nothing. Okay, there was nothing left. Could I do that all butt welding? Yeah, I could have done it all butt welding. Did I want to invest a 5-year time commitment doing that? No, I don't want to invest that time commitment. So I had to make some compromises based on that, and the compromises will still end up with a great result. It'll still end up with a car that's going to last. The filler's not going to crack. As long as you use good quality filler, you can do it any way you want. It's not the industry and all this stuff that's I've seen, the next gen guys coming in and saying, oh no, you got to butt weld it all. It's got to be butt welder. It's not done right. It's like, dude, no, it's whatever you want to do. If you want to butt weld everything and you think that's the only right way to do it, I got some news for you. You're going to learn stuff over your lifetime. And when you're my age, you're going to be a little bit more flexible, or you'll be in a mental hospital, one or the other. And you're going to learn that everything works. No matter what you do, it works. And some guys go, well, if I lap weld all this stuff, later on, someday, when I go to repound this metal, why are you even thinking about that? It's going to be hard for me to straighten that. Okay, well, so what? Look at what it took. If you guys watched the video of me changing from a lap to a butt, you cut the thing off, you fix it, you weld it back up. Big deal. I got a Nova in my garage right now. 63 Nova, super sport convertible. Very cool car. I got it. It was a serious rust bucket. It was like this truck, okay? And when I was younger, I didn't have the resources I have to go and do everything butt welded. And, I really wanted to drive the car, and it sat for 7 or 8 years before I started, or 6 years or something, quite a long time. And then I just decided one day, I got a divorce. I had this Nova sitting there. My ex-wife, I had a Corvair convertible, really cool car too. I've had a lot of cars. I built a lot of cars. I built hundreds of cars. Okay. And I had the Corvair convertible, was my cool car at the time. And I always want to have a classic. I had my bus, but I had that. And I was like, my bus was kind of my work truck. So I decided, okay, I want to go ahead and do this Nova. So I went through and I rushed everything. I did it really fast. I mean, I did the whole thing in like 6 weeks. The entire car done, finished. I ended up with a little bit too much filler on it. A little bit too much filler. After about 10 years, it started to crack. And I got news for you. If you think whatever you do, you think it's going to last forever, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. You can butt weld everything and it still doesn't last forever. Nothing lasts forever. It's a repair. It's not a new car. You know, you didn't take it and dip it after you were all done. Get everything coated with zinc or whatever, you know, like they did in some of the places when they built these originally. You know, you didn't do that. You can't, okay? You can't afford to do all that stuff. So, you know, it doesn't last forever. And why would you want it to last forever anyway? You know, you want it to live your life, your lifetime. Why think about the next lifetime when somebody else disrespects the car? I mean, I could tell you how many cars I've bought and I've sold later, and I've seen the car disrespected, wrecked after I did all this work to it. You start to learn these things over your life. You realize that, you know, everything's temporary. Okay. You think permanency when you're younger, but you realize everything is temporary when you get older. So temporary, long enough to last the life of the paint job, long enough to last the life of the car, long enough to last your life. Those are the only things you should be really focused on, not forever, because it doesn't really work that way. So anyway, back to the Nova. I built the car, got it all done. And I was like, and then after 10 years, I had no place to leave it inside the garage. It sat outside, and the weather and the heat and stuff like that. Eventually the filler cracked in a few places, and the car lost its paint job. The paint job went away. The car needs to be redone. Okay, so so big deal. You know, am I like all freaked out about it? Oh man, my body work didn't last, and you know, I didn't. No, it's no big deal. I'll go out there just like I did with this section and cut it away, redo it. Big deal. It can be redone. Guess what? You know, back years ago when I was younger, you know, we used to get a little bit stressed about stuff and you know, and trying to do our paint jobs and make them look really perfect and stuff. And then one of my friends that still does it all the time now, and he's really good. And he does, you know, custom paint, Zeke's painting, really good painter. And you know what we used to say back then is we say, what's the worst thing that can happen? What is the worst thing that can happen? You got to repaint it. So what? You sand it down and you repaint it. Same thing with your metalwork. Someday, let's say it fails. You know what? You got the car done. You got to enjoy it. Well, I think I'll just go ahead and redo this section. Big deal. No big deal. It happens. You know, instead of getting so freaked out and spending so much time and watching so much YouTube and seeing, you know, and thinking, wow, I've got to do it this way. Just get the damn thing done. Okay. That's what you should be thinking about, not all this other stuff. You know, don't let this crazy stuff stop you from finishing your car. That's the most important thing. You know, is butt welding better? You know, it just depends on what you're doing. Is lap welding better? You know, especially in a crash area of the car, you know, you got to be really conscientious about whether you're going to butt weld something or not. You know, when I talk about things on VWs, like this inner fender well, okay, on this car, did I butt weld that in? No. Why? Because behind here, down here you can't really see, you know, is it going to be aesthetically anything different? No. Am I worried about moisture getting between the two layers? No. because I have it seam sealed on the other side. Is it going to rust out eventually? I mean, sometime, who knows? I don't know, probably in the next 2 or 3 lifetimes it might. But, you know, that'll be somebody else's life, not mine. So, you know, but the thing I'm worried about with this is it being safe. If I butt welded that piece in, I would believe it would not be safe for me to drive. So some of the younger guys say, butt weld everything. Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm just saying, think about it. Think about what you're doing. Think about what's going to be safe. Think about what's going to get the car done. Think about which is going to get, you know, put a time factor in, and how long you want it to last. You know, there's so many factors in there. You know, it takes experience and time for you to know where to draw the line and where to say what's a good repair and what isn't. You know, and you know what? You're going to make some mistakes. It's going to be okay, because the worst thing you can do is cut it back off and re-weld it in, and it's great. So why be so stressed out about it? Why be sitting there watching tons of people and getting so opinionated about one way of doing something when, you know what? What's the worst thing that can happen? You cut it off and re-weld it later. Big deal, you know? It's when you get these super, super, super perfect bitchin' paint job and you've got all this time and money in it, and you've got a museum piece. And if it's a museum piece, it's not going to matter how you did it, because it's never going to see the weather, and the weather's what kills it. So it's, you know, all these craziness stuff is just gotten out there, and people are just going, well, I got to do it this way. And, you know, don't stress out about it. Just go see somebody that can help you with that problem. You know, that's all I got to say is, you know, get the car done. Don't sit there and stress out about how it's done, because it can always get redone. And that's the fun of building a car. Don't ruin it. You know, have fun building the car. That's the whole thing. If it becomes not fun, then that's when it's no fun. You know, you're ruining the whole thing. You know, it's like, so when I do what I do it because it's the way I want to do it. It's fun. You know, I'm going to build the car. It's going to get done. You know, those are the things I'm looking at all the time. You know, not looking at how perfect I can do it, because I've already done that. I've already won awards for paint. Okay. I've already done stuff in my lifetime that I don't want to do again, you know, because I've learned, and I learned, you know, later on, why the hell did I do all that? That was a lot of work. And you know what? And I did beautiful paint jobs on people's cars back when I was younger. And I remember doing this car, and people came to buy it, and they looked at it, oh, you know, well, this and that. So I went, all right, screw this. I'm just going to sand it down. I'm going to finish this bodywork and make this thing look perfect. So I did it. Beautiful, perfect. Guy comes over, he looks underneath everything, looks at everything on the car. He looks underneath this bug, and he's like, wow, that's just like beautiful. 2 weeks later, his son's driving the car, the muffler's hanging off of it. And then I see the back end of the car all was just, you know, like he'd been bottoming out. He lowered it. A week after that, I see the car sitting in his driveway, crunched up to the beam. You know, what did I do all that for? That's what I'm telling you. You know, you'll learn stuff over your life. You'll learn that, you know, it's not that big a deal, you know, and, you know, don't make such a big deal out of it. Just get it done. That's all I got to say. Just get the car done. However you want to do it, fine. Get the car done. Talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.